They said Burkina Faso was finished, that it would crumble under pressure, collapse in chaos. But then a 34-year-old captain stepped in, and everything changed. Captain Ibrahim Traoré didn't just take power, he took purpose. And in just under 2 years, he's turned a broken system into a blueprint for African resurrection. Roads, hospitals, military tech, gold mines, youth programs, and now, the skies. Forget diplomacy, this is dominance. And while foreign powers tremble and global airlines flee, Traoré's message is clear. We don't need validation, we build our own wings. Air Burkina's comeback wasn't just a flight, it was a declaration. October 2nd, 2024, the engines roared again, and a nation once silenced took off. From red zones to red carpets, Burkina Faso is flipping the script. Project 10 alone brought in $3.8 billion last year. That's not just a number, that's a warning shot to the world. This isn't a recovery, it's a resurrection. Stay tuned because we're counting down the top 10 mega projects that are reshaping Africa's most underestimated nation. And trust us, by the time we hit number 10, you'll understand why the world is watching and why the old powers are panicking. What happens when a nation stops begging for airspace and starts building it? Under Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso isn't just relaunching flights, it's launching a vision. One that starts in the clouds, but lands with impact across the entire continent. It began with a quiet storm, a sleek Embraer E190, brand new, fuel efficient, built for conquest, not comfort, secured not through loans from the West, but through strategic diplomacy at the China-Africa Forum. A $109 million deal that silenced skeptics and signaled a new era. 6 business-class seats, 92 in economy, and a runway to sovereignty. But this isn't about buying planes. This is about owning flight, from sky to strategy. Traoré's plan? Not just passenger travel, cargo, industry, trade. From cashew exports to regional air corridors, Burkina Faso is positioning itself as West Africa's new aviation heartbeat. Accra, Abidjan, Bamako. Every flight is a flag in the ground, a statement. We are no longer waiting for connection. We are becoming the connector. And it doesn't stop there. Out west, the sleepy town of Bobo Dioulasso is undergoing a metamorphosis. An 80 billion CFA franc upgrade turning its airport into a regional juggernaut, with a passenger terminal ready for over 1.5 million souls a year. New runways, taxiways, parking zones, roads carved like arteries, ready to pump life into hospitality, tourism, logistics, and pure economic adrenaline. But even that's not the crown jewel. 35 kilometers outside Ouagadougou, in a quiet patch of land, rises the future of African aviation, Ouagadougou Airport. Bigger, greener, smarter. Built not just to replace the aging Thomas Sankara terminal, but to honor it and surpass it. With a 3.5-kilometer runway, soon to stretch even longer, and a passenger terminal built for 1 million travelers. It's the kind of infrastructure you'd expect in Dubai, not a so-called struggling state. And this time, they're not borrowing Western dreams. They're designing Burkina blueprints. Low-carbon concrete, made in partnership with local universities. A solar power station with 25 megawatts in on-site storage, breaking dependency on foreign electricity. Managed by Vinci, but led by Burkina willpower. Just a few years ago, flights were grounded. Investors were fleeing. The headlines screamed collapse. Today, Burkina Faso builds the runway others will have to land on. This isn't just takeoff, it's a warning shot. Africa can build its own future, and the gates just opened. Every plane that lifts off from Burkina Faso carries a message. We are no longer grounded by history, we are airborne with purpose. But in a country like Burkina Faso, true sovereignty can't live in the clouds alone. It must be planted in the dirt, grown in the sun, and harvested by the hands of those who stayed behind when the world looked away. That's what Captain Ibrahim Traoré understands. You can't fly without roots, and you can't lead a people if you've forgotten their land. While drones soar, airports rise, and Air Burkina cuts through the skies with pride, below, something even more radical is unfolding. A soil-powered revolution. Across the land, from the northern fields to the southern valleys, the country is turning its back on food imports and turning towards self-sufficiency. In the fields, farmers are no longer abandoned. They are armed with tractors, seeds, and For the first time in years, a government that sees them as nation builders, not leftovers. And the results? Earth-shaking. Burkina Faso is now self-sufficient in several key crops. Villages that once waited on foreign trucks now feed themselves. Markets once dominated by foreign brands now sell local goods. The peasantry, the forgotten, now say, this is the first time someone rules and thinks of us. But Traoré didn't stop with food. He went straight to the factory floor. In the heart of Burkina Faso, a $11 million cashew processing plant now stands tall. It's more than just machinery, it's a declaration. We will no longer sell raw, we will sell power. Projected to employ over 20,000 people, with an eventual target of 50,000, this single plant is rapidly becoming one of the largest job creators in the country. Before, Burkina's cashew harvest went straight to foreign processors. Now, they're staying home. Processed in Burkina, profited in Burkina, owned by Burkina. Then came the tomatoes. For the first time, cans of tomato concentrate now read, "Made in Bobo Dioulasso." That's right, Burkina Faso is no longer just growing tomatoes. It's bottling sovereignty, local hands, local produce, local profit. This is what Sankara meant when he said, "He who feeds you controls you." And Traoré, he's cutting the leash. While the world watches jets, the real transformation is growing quietly, in rows of crops, in humming factories, in the dignity of work finally returned to its people. So next time you see Burkina Faso on a map, don't just look up at the plains. Look down at the roots, because the wings are real, but the revolution is in the soil. In a world where African dreams are often mortgaged to the IMF, Burkina Faso just rewrote the rules. A tomato factory funded not by Paris or Washington, but by the people. Over $12 million raised, sifa by sifa, from village farmers and Burkinabe living abroad. A factory that processes 100 tons of tomatoes every single day. No middlemen, no foreign signature, just one country saying, we can feed ourselves and we'll profit from it too. 187 jobs created, over 10,000 indirect livelihoods sparked. Post-harvest waste, gone. Middlemen market chaos, dismantled. This factory doesn't just make tomato paste, it squeezes injustice out of every can. And the revolution didn't stop there. In May 2024, Burkina Faso launched a campaign the world barely covered, but history will remember. Over 400 tractors, 339 motorcycles for rural agents, 710 motor pumps, plus tens of thousands of tons of fertilizer, feed, seeds, and equipment. This wasn't aid, it was ammunition, a national counteroffensive, not with bullets, but with broccoli. But here's the masterstroke. In Barque, a quiet revolution is training the next generation of agricultural warriors. Under the Agro-Civil Pastoral Technology Incubator, every youth is given 2 hectares of land, water supply, seeds, tools, and most importantly, belief. Not donations, not pity, preparation, and it gets bigger. March 2025, Burkina Faso launches a $200 million youth training initiative. 8,000 young people trained in farming, fishery, and food sovereignty, 20,000 already enrolled. And when they graduate, they're handed land, and they start their own empires. You still think this is about tomatoes? It's about pride. It's about a nation finally standing tall without needing handouts. It's about rural farmers becoming frontline soldiers in a new kind of war, for dignity. And now, the final piece is falling into place. Capital, credit, power. The same government that gave tractors is now giving loans. Smallholder farmers, processors, traders now have access to financing. Because Traoré knows, what we plant with our hands must be backed by our banks. This is homegrown power, built without colonial fingerprints, built with sweat, with sacrifice, and with soul. This isn't aid, it's African revenge, through resilience. This marks the beginning of a new chapter. Under Captain Ibrahim Traoré's leadership, Burkina Faso has established a treasury-backed deposit bank with a decentralized presence across the nation. On October 7, 2024, Postbank of Burkina Faso, BPBF, was officially launched in Ouagadougou, realizing a dream first conceived in 1988. With an initial capital of 15 billion CFA francs, around $25 million, the bank is more than a financial institution. It's a gateway to inclusion. BPBF is designed to serve those long neglected by traditional banking: youth, women, farmers, and small businesses. It's not about chasing profit, it's about providing access. Offering everything from savings accounts and microloans to SME support and digital banking, the Postbank is creating opportunities in cities and remote villages alike, helping households grow and communities thrive. But while the future is being financed, the past is also being honored. In Bobo Dioulasso, Burkina Faso's second-largest city, the government is building its first geriatric hospital. Long overlooked, the country's aging population, those who once built, taught, and defended the nation, will now receive proper medical care. With a budget of 1.7 billion CFA francs, the facility will offer free annual checkups and medication to over 95,000 retirees and their spouses. This isn't charity, it's justice, a long-awaited recognition that dignity must follow people into retirement. Together, Postbank and the Geriatric Hospital represent a larger vision, development that includes everyone. From young innovators to aging veterans, the foundation being laid is both economic and ethical. But Traoré's Burkina Faso isn't stopping there. It's investing in more than money or medicine. It's reaching into classrooms, hospital wards, and the very identity of a nation still healing. Because real transformation doesn't end with policies or buildings. It continues in the people who carry its purpose. It all starts where the next generation is formed, where wounds are healed, and where history is remembered. This is where Burkina Faso's next chapter takes root. Not in promises, but in action. With schools, clinics, and the unwavering resilience of a people who refuse to forget their identity, the nation is rebuilding more than just structures. It's rebuilding hope, stone by stone, child by child, life by life. Under President Ibrahim Traoré, a new national vision is being realized, one that centers around the most essential pillars of any lasting nation: education, healthcare, and historical memory. In June 2024, the government launched the Presidential Initiative for Quality Education for All, a 5-year plan designed to overhaul the country's educational landscape. This is not mere policy. It is a promise to the future. Across the nation, 39 new university lecture halls, 44 modern high schools, and 10 technical and vocational training centers are rising. In regions once gripped by insecurity, 250 schools are being reconstructed, and at the heart of this transformation stands a new polytechnic university, a symbol of academic ambition for all Burkinabe. More importantly, education is now entirely free, from primary to university level, tearing down the financial walls that blocked thousands of young minds. Curriculum reforms and continuous teacher training are further reshaping education, ensuring students are not only equipped with knowledge, but instilled with pride, purpose, and a sense of civic duty. Parallel to this educational revolution, the healthcare system is undergoing its own rebirth. With the support of China, Burkina Faso has opened the University Hospital Center of Pala, a 500-bed facility offering advanced medical services like cerebral angiography, previously unavailable within national borders. A second center, under construction in Goa, will serve the country's southwest and border regions, positioning Burkina Faso as a growing regional healthcare leader. To bridge the gap in rural healthcare access, 15 fully equipped mobile clinics are now operational, bringing essential diagnostics like mammography and colonoscopy directly to remote populations. Solar-powered refrigeration trucks and modern vaccine storage systems are being deployed to preserve critical supplies even across the most isolated regions. Through the Presidential Initiative for Health, IPS, 55 community medical centers and 5 new ICU units are also underway, expanding access, saving lives, and restoring the dignity of care. Still, even as Burkina Faso pushes boldly into the future, it has not let go of its past. In a powerful act of remembrance, President Ibrahim Traoré inaugurated the Thomas Sankara Mausoleum in Ouagadougou. The launch, attended by Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko and Chadian Prime Minister Alamaye Halina, was more than a ceremonial event. it was a reclaiming of history. The mausoleum honors Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso's revolutionary leader from 1983 to 1987, who championed economic independence and grassroots development. Now, on the very site where Sankara and his comrades were assassinated, a monument has risen, not for mourning, but for meaning. Commissioned by President Traoré and designed by world-renowned architect Francis Carré, the Thomas Sankara Museum spans nearly 10,000 square meters. Its most striking feature, an 87-meter tower representing Sankara's enduring ideals of justice, unity, and self-reliance. Visitors ascend a spiral ramp through the tower, retracing the path of revolution. A journey that ends with a sweeping view of the capital and a restaurant shaped like the map of Burkina Faso itself. Surrounding the site are workshops, a media library, and lush green spaces, reflections of Sankara's dream for a nation built on sustainability, education, and equality. This isn't just a monument, it's a living classroom, a promise that Burkina Faso will not bury its heroes in silence, but build with them in vision. This is how the nation is reclaiming its voice, not through handouts, but through homes, hospitals, and heritage. It's not forgetting the past, it's building a future worthy of it. But Traoré's vision goes beyond textbooks and clinics. It touches the streets, the homes, the everyday lives of people. Because education means little if students are forced to sleep in makeshift shelters. Healthcare cannot thrive when displaced families have nowhere to call home. And national pride cannot flourish without spaces to gather, celebrate, and dream. So the transformation had to move beyond institutions into the living fabric of the nation. Where there was once displacement, there is now stability. Where there was once silence, there is now the sound of rebuilding. Streets are transforming, skylines are changing, and from new homes to modern stadiums, a new rhythm is rising. Burkina Faso is no longer waiting. Under Ibrahim Traoré, the nation is not just building for today, it's laying the groundwork for generations to come. One of the greatest challenges has been the displacement of thousands due to conflict. But instead of leaving them in limbo, the government responded not with sympathy, but with shelter. A bold housing initiative was launched, rooted in dignity and designed for permanence. More than 1,000 social housing units are now under construction across major regions: Center Nord, Plateau Central, and Haut-Bassin, funded by over 5 billion CFA francs. These aren't just buildings, they are places where displaced families can reclaim stability, safety, and the dignity of home. But this is only one piece of a much broader vision. Under Captain Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso is undergoing a radical transformation of its urban spaces. Cracked and forgotten roads are being repaired, new roadways are opening, reconnecting communities long left behind. Public parks, community spaces, and pedestrian walkways are being revived, not only to improve mobility, but to restore beauty, pride, and a sense of belonging in the cities. Nowhere is this revitalization more symbolic than at the Stade du Fort Haute, the August 4th Stadium in Ouagadougou. This iconic stadium, named after the 1983 revolution led by Thomas Sankara, is more than steel and seats. It is a living monument to the revolutionary spirit of Burkina Faso. It's where the nation's soul gathers, where unity roars, and where Les Etalons, the national football team, bring people to their feet. But time had left its mark. The stadium needed more than cosmetic fixes, it needed revival. And that's exactly what President Traoré ordered. The entire facility underwent a sweeping renovation. Spectator seating was redesigned for comfort, the pitch was rebuilt to meet global standards. High-powered floodlights and a digital scoreboard now light up the field for night matches and global broadcasts. Athlete amenities, including locker rooms and VIP lounges, were transformed. Security was upgraded, access was improved. From building shelters for the displaced to restoring the country's most symbolic stadium, this isn't patchwork progress, it's a national resurrection. Deliberate, focused, unstoppable. But none of this transformation, not the homes, not the hospitals, not even the stadiums, can come to life without energy. Power is the pulse of progress. A child's homework needs light, a patient's life needs electricity, a stadium's roar needs power to echo. That's why the next frontier of Burkina Faso's transformation is energy. Not borrowed, but built. Not imported, but owned. Under Ibrahim Traoré, Burkina Faso is no longer asking for energy, it is claiming it. The battle ahead is not just about infrastructure, it's about control of the grid and the power to fuel the future. Burkina Faso, once a landlocked nation synonymous with limitation, is now turning its geographic and historical constraints into strategic leverage. And nowhere is this more evident than in its audacious march toward energy sovereignty. In a landmark move in 2023, President Ibrahim Traoré signed a groundbreaking $4 billion nuclear power deal with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The agreement, inked with Russia's state nuclear agency Rosatom, promises more than just electricity. It promises a national transformation. This nuclear project, scheduled for completion by 2030, aims to meet 100% of Burkina Faso's domestic energy needs and potentially export surplus power to neighboring nations. For the first time in its history, Burkina Faso is positioning itself as a regional energy hub, a bold leap from dependence to dominance. But this deal goes beyond reactors and radiation. Embedded within the project are nationwide training programs, educational initiatives, and citizen awareness campaigns to demystify nuclear energy and build local expertise for long-term sustainability. Yet nuclear is only half of the energy story. In early 2024, Burkina Faso made another historic move. It purchased the Tema oil terminal on Ghana's Atlantic coast for $70 million. For a landlocked nation, owning direct access to coastal oil storage is a strategic masterstroke. No longer held hostage by overland fuel routes vulnerable to geopolitical disruptions, Burkina Faso now secures its own energy supply chain. This acquisition strengthens the nation's hydrocarbon company and modernizes logistics, ensuring that fuel flows when and where it's needed. Further reinforcing this energy pivot, a brand new domestic storage facility was commissioned in the western region, adding an impressive 104,000 cubic meters of fuel storage. For a country where, just a few years ago, only 21% of the population had consistent electricity access and where biomass remained a primary energy source, this marks a seismic shift. Burkina Faso is no longer surviving energy shocks. It's designing energy sovereignty. From uranium to oil barrels, from education to electrification, the country is laying the grid for a future it will control. In the rural heart of Burkina Faso, prosperity has always had four legs. Livestock is more than food. It's wealth, heritage, and identity. Yet for decades, this vital sector was underdeveloped, plagued by disease, low productivity, and neglected infrastructure. That's why President Traoré's government launched the Livestock Sector Development Support Project, a quiet revolution reshaping rural life. Backed by strategic partnerships, including the World Bank, this project is equipping pastoralists with modern tools to thrive. Veterinary services have expanded with mobile units, mass vaccination drives, and new diagnostic labs, slashing animal mortality and securing livelihoods. But this isn't just about animals. It's about transforming value. New meat and dairy processing centers are springing up across the country, adding shelf life and economic value to what was once perishable. Cold chain logistics, including refrigerated trucks and storage hubs, now allow farmers to access regional markets and reduce waste. And thanks to Burkina Faso's rural credit programs, small-scale herders, often women, are buying better feed, improving breeds, and expanding operations. A once informal system is evolving into a structured industry, one that empowers women, stabilizes food supply, and enhances Burkina Faso's regional export potential. Every cow, goat, and chicken is now part of a national strategy, a living asset in the country's march towards self-sufficiency. And this is the real story. Burkina Faso is no longer surviving off aid or hand-me-down policies. It's thriving off strategy, sovereignty, and self-belief. Every solar panel, dam, and data center, every factory, road, and clinic, every school, hospital, and livestock shed, they all point to one truth. Burkina Faso isn't asking permission anymore. It's setting the example. So now we turn the question outward. In a world that once looked down on this landlocked nation, who's really behind and who's finally leading? Subscribe to Clickstream for more untold stories in Africa.